Today we're going to be going over the history of Frog FTK, one of my personal favorite decks. Frog FTK, or Frog Burn First Turn Kill, is one of the most notorious decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! And being one of the easiest FTKs to pull off. With the release of the Shining Darkness set on May 11, 2010, we were introduced to Ronin Totem. This guy allowed frogs to be able to pull off their first turn kill. The actual FTK itself involves two key loops, the first being Substitute, which allows you to dump as many frogs as you can into the graveyard, which sets up for Ronin Totem's and Mass Driver's loop to let you banish a frog from the graveyard to special summon Ronin Totem from the graveyard, and tribute him with Mass Driver to inflict 400 damage to your opponent. This is possible because none of these effects are once per turn, and allows you to burn your opponent to 0 life points. Frog FTK actually won the August 2010 YCS, being piloted by Galileo de Obaldia, and would be the only time an FTK has ever won a world championship. To do the FTK, you need to start by getting Substitute on the field. This can be accomplished in many ways, either by getting lucky and drawing it, using 1-for-1 to special summon him from your deck, or using Swap Frog paired up with Salvage. Once you have it on the field, you need some type of fodder to tribute. Either Treeborn Frog, as you can use Hand Destruction in the draw phase to send Treeborn Frog to the grave and then bring him back that same standby phase, or Swap Frog, which can special summon himself from your hand by discarding another water monster. During all this, you need to be dumping as many frogs into the graveyard as you can, Ronin Totem being one of them, with cards like Hand Destruction and Card Destruction, while also trying to draw the Mass Driver, with cards like Moray of Greed and Poison Draw Frog. Once you have that set up, you are ready to FTK. Just continuously summon Ronin Totem from the grave by banishing frogs and continuously tribute him with Mass Driver, and if you didn't have quite enough frogs in your graveyard, Fishboard Blaster was a really good way to clean up the rest of your opponent's life points, since he can summon himself from the graveyard at the cost of discarding any card from your hand. The combo itself sounds complicated, but in practice it was really easy to accomplish. In Game 2, FTK players would side out the drivers and go for frog control, with cards like Flip Flop Frog, sending your opponent's monsters back to their hand, Unifrog to clear up their back row and attack directly for easy chip damage, and Substitute and Dupe Frog to essentially lock your opponent out of the battle phase, since they could only attack Dupe Frog thanks to its ability, but Substitute made it so your frogs were unable to be destroyed by battle. Some ways to counter Frog FTK would be to DD Crow the Ronin from the graveyard, making him unable to be special summoned back to the field, or to side in Hanawata of all cards to make it so you take no effect damage for the rest of the turn, making the Mass Driver completely useless. Frog FTK would be so powerful that they would end up banning Substitute in September 2010, 1 month after the YCS win, and would even get a far weaker retrain version in Trade Toad, being released in Extreme Victory in May of 2011. Mass Driver and Fishboard Blaster would also be banned in March 2011 and September 2011 respectively. Honestly, I feel like it would have been fine if they just errated Substitute, Ronin, and Mass Driver to make them once per turn rather than just banning them. Instead, Substitute would be banned up until October 2022, where it is now limited, with Ronin Totem now taking a trip to the ban list instead. It's a shame we can't have a timeline where these two exist off the ban list simultaneously. Well, that was Frog FTK. Thanks so much for exploring the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! With me, guys. Let me know what other pieces of Yu-Gi-Oh! History you want to explore with me in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching.